interested on terrorism, David. You know, your extensive background here and the years that you've been literally had a finger on the pulse with these things. How have these threats evolved? What are the changes that you've seen in terms of the greater risks of national security and otherwise?
So thank you for that question. And it's complex in my answer. The motivation factors for terrorism generally involve political or social ideology and radical versions of it. So you're going to commit an act of violence against persons or property for change. That's in general. I'm using a kind of a simplistic term, but in general, that's what it is. And the evolution of the world in the social media platform to radicalize people online, you in the Internet of Things, has changed us dynamically, where we would have much longer in the national security space to identify these bad actors that are going to commit a violent act or recruiting others to commit a violent act. If they've moved much more rapidly in the space. What we'd say from flash to bang is very short time. And we said this over and over again. I know Director Wray at the FBI has spoken about it, and I have as well. That evolution has changed. And to muster this similar like ideologies among these radicalists puts that at grave risk. And we've seen this from shootings within the United States that are either associated with domestic terrorist groups like white supremacy or radical ideology to international terrorist organizations, either Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, all of the ones that you're very familiar with. That ideology can spread rapidly across the globe, and how we counter that is the critical component and identify those nodes where those threat actors, those bad actors are looking to create an event, and they're trying to attack us every day. And that's why we have to invest in our national security, our law enforcement, and our private sector groups to get on top of this.
So absolutely, and it's great to get your experience in this and just understanding the extent and the nature of these threats. I had an opportunity we have every year, and you're actually going to participate this year in our joint industry forum, and I had an opportunity to have a one-on-one with Federal Reserve member Randall Quarles, another former Bush 43 colleague of ours. He mentioned as in his mind the largest and most worrisome threat was cyber to our economy. What type of cyber attacks keep you up at night?
Wow, that's a difficult question because there's so many nodes that do keep me up, and they did keep me up every night, 24 hours a day in our team at the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Council. Any attack on critical infrastructure is going to be a catastrophic event, not just for the economy, but for people. Attacking those critical nodes for transportation, communication, energy, 9/11 response systems, hospital care facilities, how you get food and water, your sustenance for life. I am fortunate and maybe unfortunate that I know the complete capability of our adversaries. I received the presidential daily brief, the most sensitive briefing that we get in the United States. I received it every day. I participated in it, and I briefed the president at times. It all kept me up. And how we create that layered approach in partnership with the private sector was a key component that we have to share information. We have to give them the capability to protect themselves, because the United States government cannot be the sole defender of the private sector. So that information sharing relationship we talked about is key to giving them information to know what our adversaries and their capability are to attack the different nodes of critical infrastructure. But we're getting better and better. We're getting better at it, but we still have significant vulnerabilities in the United States and abroad.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was able to go to an exercise with a leading think tank here where I am in Washington, D.C., talking, and it was a scenario around a terrorism event where some of the things that you were talking about got shut down, energy, different things that happened in the city. The one thing that the group was loaded with government, either former or existing, and they were all talking about how they get in there, how they get the citizens protected, how they get the things up and running again in the short term. But one of the things that we don't think about oftentimes is the long term. And again, that's where insurance does come in. We consider ourselves a financial first responder. But and what you're saying, I think, is really important, that people need to understand that this isn't just government and people getting the lights back on necessarily. It's also about making sure that we can rebuild the economies that could be damaged for the long term.